Hi, thanks for joining me today, Tuesday, June 23rd. I've got a number of good stories for you today, and just a reminder, all these stories here, the timestamp will be in the description. If you'd like to skip ahead to another story, you can just click on the link below. But today I've got a really interesting story. I think it is an example of what is happening in the media and how things are being reported, especially around hate crimes and hate hoaxes and things like that. This one involves an incident that just happened over the weekend with NASCAR, and I'm going to go into the details and show you about how what's being reported in the media may not be accurate. So first, let's look at how the New York Times described the situation. They said, NASCAR drivers support Bubba Wallace after Noose is found in Talladega garage. The number 43 car edged down pit row on Monday afternoon. Its NASCAR rivals unusually close at hand, just minutes before a race. Top drivers and their crew wearing masks for one of the first races of the coronavirus era were on the march with the Chevrolet Camaro that Darrell Wallace Jr., the lone black racer in NASCAR's Premier Series, would soon drive around one of the most fearsome courses in motorsports. But at that very moment, on Monday, the Justice Department and NASCAR officials were investigating whether one of the people on pit row or someone else had gained access to the garage at Talladega Superspeedway had placed a noose in Wallace's stall a day earlier. So this sounds terrible. There's a lone driver. For the record, Darrell Wallace Jr. is also known as Bubba. I didn't know that. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I don't hate it. I don't really watch it. I don't really understand it. But a lot of people like it, so, it seems like fun. But Bubba Wallace apparently, a couple weeks ago, called for the banning of the Confederate flag at NASCAR events, and NASCAR followed through with that. As the lone black driver in this event, to then have a noose show up in his garage, well, that strikes of a hate crime, of intimidation, racism. But is that really what happened? I decided to look into this story. At first, I heard about Bubba Wallace, and I had totally different preconceptions as to who that was. Turns out he's black. I guess you can be black and name Bubba as well. You learn something every day. But I looked into it, and I found some reporting on a conservative blog called The Last Refuge. Now, I understand, you hear me reference a conservative blog, you'll think, well, then it's nonsense. But the difference is, unlike the rest of the mainstream media, if someone reports something, I go through and I check it, and I double check it, and I evaluate it before I report it on my channel. And so here's what I found. The so-called noose that was there was actually a hand pull for the garage door. And I've seen plenty of evidence. This picture taken by Getty Images from Monday shows that the garage pole has been cut right at the top and it is no longer hanging down. But if you go through and you look at previous pictures and videos from that exact same garage, it had come down and had a little loop, a hand loop tied so that you could grab it and pull down the garage door. It is on NASCAR's own official YouTube page. You can see this hand knot or noose in 2017. You can see it in 2018. You can see it in 2019. It was present up until yesterday, when it appears that it was cut, or Sunday, it appears where it was cut so that it is no longer hanging down. That has been removed. Now, there's a huge difference between something that is supposed to intimidate, such as a noose, and a pull that you use to pull down a garage door. In this case, it is clear, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this was a hand pull, and it had been that exact same way for a few years, and nobody noticed it. Now, I'm not accusing Bubba Wallace of making this up. I don't even know if he saw it, okay? But the reporting on this is that there was some kind of hate crime, and it turns out that that was something that had existed for years. For years it was there. And none of the reporting in the mainstream media is mentioning this at all. I believe they do have this information, but they're not reporting it. Now, eventually, if this is overwhelming, then they may come back and have to update the story. But here's why this story is so important, okay? When I see reports of hate crimes and I look into it, often it's not exactly as it's reported. I think the truth is important, and in this case, it was a hand tie that you pulled down. It wasn't a noose. And if it was a noose, it was a noose that was hanging in broad daylight for years, and no one ever noticed it, okay? This is important because there are people, imagine being a young black kid today, and you just hear in the media over and over and over again about all of these supposed hate crimes meant to intimidate black people. That's got to have a tear at your soul. But the correction never seems to get the publicity. It's true in the Jussie Smollett case. That blew up in his face, and eventually the press did cover the fact that that was all made up. There's so many instances where the follow-up story gets no play at all. Like, as an example, last week I talked about the noose from the Oakland Park. Now, it turns out that that was exercise equipment. They'd set up some swings. It was used by some black guys in the park to swing and have fun. They talked about using it for a long time. No one ever thought it was a noose. It was a climbing rope. But the follow-up to that story didn't get nearly the coverage that the original story got. And I suspect that the follow-up to this story about Bubba Wallace is not going to get the same kind of coverage that the original story got. But that's what I try to do on my channel with my news videos. I will look at the story. I will actually do some digging and investigate it myself and then give you my opinion. So if you value what I do, please share my video with someone else that may like it, because YouTube is not sharing my video whatsoever. I average about 200 views a video. And if you think that this is worth it, please share it with someone else. Seattle mayor announces city will reclaim police-free autonomous zone taken over by demonstrators. From CNN, Seattle's mayor told protesters Monday, quote, "It's time for people to go home," unquote, and leave the Capitol Hill neighborhood they've established as an autonomous zone. Demonstrators will not be removed by force, Mayor Jenny Durkin said, but the city has been working with black-led community organizers to speak with leaders on the, quote, Capitol Hill organized protest to persuade them to leave the area. The East Precinct was boarded up and abandoned after an autonomous zone was established outside the building. At the time, Police Chief Carmen Best said leaving the precinct was not her idea and expressed anger at how the decision was made. Durkin told Chris Cuomo on June 11th that the autonomous zone could be seen as a, quote, summer of love. The 3 people who were shot in the area over the weekend included a 19-year-old who was killed, Best said. First responders were prevented from quickly reaching the victims because they were met by a hostile crowd, she said. It is not unnoticed that the victims were black men, Mayor Durkin said. Now that's interesting how the entire thing is framed. I don't know how you're going to retake CHOP or Chaz or whatever it's called in Seattle, if not by force. The mayor said they're looking at persuading black leaders to get people to leave. Now, what does persuading mean? Is it giving them money? I don't know. Giving them promises for something? I don't know. But, sir, but just calling on people to leave but not having force to back that up really doesn't mean anything. And, we'll just have to see how this plays out. Now, it's interesting that the mayor was promoting this as a summer of love, and I've heard the same thing from many people that I know. Oh, it's just a big potluck. It's just a block party, man. Like, don't worry about it. But it turns out that might not be all that it is. It could be a block party, and there could be some serious problems with crime as well. Those can both exist at the same time. We'll just have to see how this works in Seattle. From the New York Post, German authorities arrested former Wirecard CEO Marcus Braun days after he left the payments company amid a $2.1 billion accounting scandal. Munich prosecutors accused Braun of using bogus income from transactions with third-party acquirers to inflate Wirecard's assets and sales volume and make it more attractive to investors. Braun turned himself in Monday evening and will appear Tuesday before a judge who will decide whether to keep him detained, according to a translated statement to the prosecutor's office. Braun's arrest came after Wirecast revealed 1.9 billion euros that was missing from its accounts, likely never existed to begin with. The company's auditor refused to sign off on the accounts for 2019 because it couldn't confirm the money's existence. Now, this comes as no shock to me. Often companies, when they're trying to be acquired or they're trying to look attractive so that they get bought out, and all the C-level employees, the CEO and the president and whatnot can cash in their stocks, they do things to inflate the value of the company. That's what is alleged here. Now, we don't know exactly what happened, and we'll have to wait to find out. But if you're not familiar, Wirecard is a German version of like PayPal. It's a way that you can send money in a different fashion. But the fact that a new tech company would massage the books to inflate things, we've seen that a million times before. Live Nation unveils first drive-in concert series with Brad Paisley, Darius Rucker, and Nelly. This is from Variety. As the coronavirus pandemic has seized up the live entertainment industry, drive-in concerts have been floated as a safe replacement for audiences jonesing for live music. And Live Nation has announced the first large-scale drive-in concert series in the U.S. beginning in July. The live entertainment giant on Monday announced Live from the Drive-In, a series of 9 concerts taking place July 10th through the 12th in Nashville, Tennessee, Maryland Heights, Missouri, and Noblesville, Indiana. The concert industry is looking at a projected 75% drop in revenue for 2020, with most concert tours and festivals being moved to 2021 at the soonest. So a drive-in concert. It's funny, drive-in movie theaters have gone away over the years, and now, boy, do we really wish we could have them back, right? But a drive-in concert, I think this is a responsible thing to do, to have some live entertainment that people can go and enjoy and stay safe. Now, for me personally, I'm not really looking forward to live music. I've seen at least 1,000 live music shows in my life. I've had enough for a while, so I can go without. But having these big concerts with a drive-in could be a lot of fun. Keep your cat out of your dating profile, CSU researchers warn men. From CBS Denver, scientists showed hundreds of women photos of 2 men, both men pictured with or without a furry companion. Their response showed that the men's luck got noticeably worse when women saw the picture with a cat. Quote, men holding cats were viewed as less masculine, more neurotic, agreeable, and open, and less dateable, the authors wrote. The findings are likely the result of long-held cultural stereotypes about cat and dog owners. The authors said, women prefer men with good genes, often defined as more masculine traits, citing previous research. Clearly, the presence of a cat diminishes that perception. A 2018 survey found that men and women got matches more when they included a picture of their dog in their profile. Women received 150% more messages, 100% more super likes, and 122% more total interactions, while men saw 75% more messages, 200% more likes, and 53% more total interactions. So this is something to keep in mind if you're trying to meet somebody. Keep your cat out of the photo. However, if you're looking for someone long term, I would think you wouldn't want somebody that hates a cat if you have a cat. You might not get as many matches, but the matches that you're going to get are at least going to be cool coming over to your place. Let me know your thoughts about any of these stories. Have an awesome day. Peace.